How's it going, everybody? So welcome to my Cinco de Mayo special. We're going to be doing several live sessions today because we are making, and I think I'm pronouncing this right, I'm going to butcher all kinds of pronunciations today, but we're going to be making birria tacos, and this is a process. Birria tacos take a long time. Notice I'm starting now, it's right around lunchtime, and it will take the rest of the day up until dinner time to get all this stuff prepared. A lot of that time is spent with them sitting at the stuff stewing in a pot. So we're going to do several live videos throughout the day today so that you can watch the whole process and kind of come along with this with me, because I've never made these before. I see them on Instagram and I see them online and people doing them all the time, and they always look delicious, and I've always wanted to try them. So I found a really good recipe for them. At least I think it's good. I think it's authentic is what it is. And so we are going to go through this together, and hopefully they'll come out pretty good. So for this first video that we're going to do is we basically have to prepare everything. You can see, I don't know if you can see, I've got a whole bunch of meat here. I've got a bunch of peppers and different spices and stuff here. So we're going to get everything prepared and get it in the pot, and then it will have to sit. And so we'll take a break from the video until it sits for a little over an hour, and then we'll come back and do the next step together. So let's get started. So I'm going to bring you over here, and you'll have to forgive all of the dizziness and stuff throughout this session because I'm on my own and you're on a tripod, and I'm going to do the best that I can. So as you can see here, I've got quite a bit of meat. So these birria tacos, if you don't know, are basically a shredded meat taco that has a consomme sauce that you put on it. And you dip the shells in the consomme, and you dip the taco in the consomme. So the beef helps make the consomme. That's part of what we're stewing. So 3 different kinds of beef going on here. You've got a large shoulder roast here. I've got 3 short ribs here, and I've got an oxtail over here. Got about 2 pounds roast, the 3 short ribs, and about 1 pound of oxtail. And all of that's going to go in here. But before we do any of that, we have to kind of prepare some of our other ingredients here. And so I'm going to kind of set you up here so that I can do that. Actually, I'm going to turn you back around so that I could see you as we do this. All right. So one of the first things we have to do is we have 3 different kinds of chilies that are going to go into this. And so this first kind of chili, this is I want to say it right, these are Ancho Chilies, I believe. No, these are guajilo chilies. And again, I'm going to mispronounce everything on here, so forgive me. So these are guajilo chilies, and we need about 5 of these. And you'll notice they're dried. They will kind of rehydrate in the stew. One of the first things we need to do with these is to destem them. That one's already kind of done. So we're going to cut the stems off. And then we also want to de-seed them. Since they are dried, you can actually, I don't know if you can hear it, they actually have the seeds pretty loose in there because they're dried. So we should be able to pretty easily take most of those seeds out. So I'm going to kind of open these up now that I got the stems off. Get them kind of nice and loose and open here. And we're just going to kind of dump those seeds out here. Whoa, that's a lot of seeds. Okay, so I don't know if you saw how many seeds came out of that. So we're going to do that with each of these. We're going to de-seed all of these chilies. Get all those seeds out of there. Make sure I do this one. And if you hear scratching, that's my dog over there trying to get out in the backyard. So, all right, that one, because the stem was off of it, didn't have much in it. Man, there's a lot of seeds in these. Kind of surprised. So if you're not interested in sitting here and watching me do all this, or if you don't think you're going to be able to catch me live for each segment and you want to or whatever, just know that I'm recording. We'll post all of these, and they will be posted on my Blackstone cooking page as well as later on in my YouTube channel. So if you want to come back and just kind of fast forward through some of this and watch some of this, you're welcome to do that. So these are the Ancho Chilies. You can see they're a little darker color. We're going to do the same thing with them. We're going to de-stem and de-seed. These are a little bit stiffer. Oh yeah, see the seeds in these are quite a bit stuck together inside there. Can you see that? So that's going to be a little bit different. Shake out a little bit there. Make sure we get all those out. If anybody's wondering, and you're noticing my fabulous shirt here for Cinco de Mayo, this shirt came from a bunch of buddies of mine who started their own shirt company recently called 7 Strong brand. They have fantastic shirts that are really cool, kind of like this one. So if you want to go check them out, if you just Google 7 Strong brand, you can go to their website. You can order this shirt right now. It's available right now. And you can have it for next Cinco de Mayo if you want. All right, 2 more of these. And then we will be done with the chilies. See, this is part of the reason why, if you watch my other videos, why my other videos are so short, because this is the kind of stuff I would cut out normally so that you wouldn't have to be here. But I thought it'd be a little bit more fun to go live for this. You can watch the whole process. You can see just how involved this whole process is. All right, I'm gonna go toss my seeds and my stems because I don't want them getting all over the counter. All right, so you notice I did 5 of each of the Ancho Chilies and of the Guajilo chilies. And then we're also gonna throw in 2 of these, I forget what these are called, these little red chilies. Let's see, let me look at the recipe. They are called Chilies de Arbol, I guess. I'm not sure what that is, if that's how you pronounce that. I forgot we needed to seed those too. But we're only going to do 2 of these. I'm assuming that's probably because they're pretty spicy. And the unfortunate thing with these is I had to buy them in this gigantic bag, and I only needed 2 for this recipe. So that means, got to dump these seeds now. That means I'm going to have to find something else to do with these so that I can use them up. Luckily they are dried, so they should last a while. All right, so a couple more things for prep here is we need some diced onion. So I'm gonna go ahead and dice up an onion here. I went ahead and peeled it. Saved a little time on that so you don't have to watch me peel an onion. Little tip, if you're unfamiliar with peeling an onion, best way to do that is to cut it in half. Leave the root on, and then you can just peel the outer layer right off, and it also makes it really easy for dicing like this. See, it dices up really fast and really easy. So once again, here's the other half. I just kind of cut slits, going back as close to the root as I can go without cutting into it, because if you cut into it, the whole thing's going to fall apart. And then you just cut down, and it just dices right up. Really easy there. All right, so I got my onion diced up here. And then last bit of prep here is this has a lot of garlic in it. And so it actually calls for 8 cloves of garlic here. And so if you don't know, when you get garlic out of the head to peel it, if you just crush it, the peeling comes right out, and then you just got the garlic clove right there. So we don't have to dice these garlic. If I did, I probably would have done it ahead of time, because that takes a little bit more time. But all we need to do is just slice it up. It's basically just going to go into this consomme over here and add a bunch of flavor. But that consomme is going to cook for, like I said, hours. And since it's going to cook so long, these will cook down nicely. So we're just going to get all these nicely peeled. So I use the jarred minced garlic a lot of the time. You'll see it if you watch my videos for recipes, if it calls for minced garlic. I usually just do that as a time saver, because mincing up garlic like this does take some time and some effort, and I like to save a little bit of time. But I will say, there's nothing better than the flavor of real minced garlic. So it's worth taking the time if you're really interested in that flavor. All right, so with these, I'm just going to do once across, and just get them nicely sliced. Like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty or uniform. We're not dicing them up super small. It's just a quick slice across there. Got a couple larger pieces here. All right, and that's it. And so I'm going to throw my garlic here into this little ramekin so that I have it ready to go. Okay, so now we're going to cook the meat. And like I said, I've got all this different kinds of meat here. I've got the oxtail, the short ribs, and the pork shoulder. This needs to be salted generously. Okay, so we're going to salt this down. We're going to salt the oxtail. Flip that right over. Generously salt the other side here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sear this before we get it in the stew. It's always a good idea, even if you are somebody who cooks in a crock pot and you're going to put meat in for any given amount of time, I always try to make a practice of searing my meat first before letting it stew for any amount of time. Brings out a lot more flavor in the meat. Okay, so now I've got this very large pot here because we're going to need some room. So I'm going to get the heat on, put it at about medium, and we're going to throw some oil down in the bottom here. And that's going to be for searing our meat. So we're going to let that start to get heated up, and then we're going to sear our meat in there for till it's brown on all sides. And we're going to do that obviously in a couple batches. And then we are going to pull that out and start building the stew. So one of the things while I'm waiting on that to heat up that we're going to do to spice up this consomme here is we are going to use kind of a spice mixture. And the way we want to do this, because we don't want these spices, because we're going to use whole peppercorns here, and we're going to use whole seed coriander, toasted coriander here. And we don't want that stuff floating around in there. We want to be able to get it out easily. So I have this little mesh bag here. This is actually a grain bag. You could just use a like a cheesecloth or something like that. I like the bag just because I don't have to fold it up then. And I'm going to dump each of these spices in there. So I did about a tablespoon of fresh peppercorns, a tablespoon of toasted coriander. We're going to throw in a whole cinnamon stick, just one. And then here's where a lot of that flavor is going to come in. I've got 6 bay leaves right here. Throw those in as well. Okay. And so now this little spice bag will kind of act like a little tea bag for our consomme there. So while it's stewing, I can just tie this off and I could throw that in there. And I've got this nice long tail for me to find it and fetch it out. And then I'll be able to just pull that out later when I'm done. And all that spicy goodness will be in my consomme, but I don't have any of the mess trying to find all those bay leaves or find all those little peppercorns. And you don't definitely want to bite into a whole peppercorn while you're eating, because that's not good if you've ever done that. Okay? All right, so we should be getting heated up here. Turn you guys. Nobody's talking to me. I see there's a few of you on. You know, I would enjoy a little conversation if you want to talk, say hello. I am paying attention. I'm trying to watch and see if comments pop up. Haven't seen any come up yet. All right, so you can see my oil's nice and hot. You can see that little wisp of white smoke coming off there. I'm going to go ahead and just start with my biggest piece of meat here. I'll throw that in. So you can see we're going to just brown that on both sides. Our goal is not to cook it all the way through. We're just getting a nice sear on it, okay? So it only needs a couple minutes on each side. Then we'll flip it, and then we're going to just pull it right back off and set it to the side while we build the rest of our consomme, and then it'll go right back in. Honestly, I've got room in here. This is the nice thing about that big pot, is I can put those short ribs in here as well. Go ahead and get them cooking. Right. So if it's still sticking to the bottom, it's not quite ready yet. Okay. So I see 7 of you watching. Anybody got any comments, questions? If you weren't here when I started, we're making birria tacos here. And this process takes a while. So it is noon, and we're gonna start this now, so it'll be ready in time for dinner. So just so you know, we're gonna make this consomme. This is gonna take a couple hours. So we're gonna let it stew for about an hour. We're gonna pull the chilies out and blend them up, and then we'll put them right back in there, all blended up. And then it's got to stew for about another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. In the meantime, I'm actually going to make fresh homemade corn tortillas, because birria tacos should be made on a corn tortilla. So I'm going to show you how to make fresh homemade corn tortillas later on this afternoon. We want to make them like right before we actually start making the tacos. So it'll be later on. I'm going to go ahead and flip my meat here real quick. All right. Got everything flipped in there. All right, so like I was saying, we're going to do fresh corn tortillas, and then we'll later on this evening for dinner time make the actual tacos out on the Blackstone griddle. And so you guys will kind of come with me along the way. Once we're done here, once I've shown you the process of getting this started, I'm going to sign off for about an hour, and then I'll come back, go live for just a couple minutes just to show you the process of blending the chilies and getting that put back in there. And then we'll come back probably an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and I'll show you making the tortillas and making the tacos and doing all that. Should be fun. It's a great way to spend Cinco de Mayo. One of the reasons I haven't made this particular dish yet, even though I've seen people make it all over the place, is because, number one, it is time consuming and there is a lot involved and a lot of ingredients, as you could see. But I also was kind of waiting because my understanding of this dish is it is traditionally intended to be like a celebration dish. Like it's made for special occasions, it's made to celebrate special events and things like that. And so instead of just making it and spending all this time making something like that, I figured I'm gonna hold off until Cinco de Mayo because it'll be the perfect Cinco de Mayo dinner. Okay. So we've got some browning going on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out. Actually, you know, the short ribs could use just a little longer. I'm gonna put them back in there and leave them in. Because now all I got left is this oxtail. So the oxtail is the only thing that has bones in it. So we will obviously be deboning that when it stews for a little while and the meat gets to where it just literally shreds and falls off. We'll just pull that bone right out of there. Nobody's talking. Who's on? I don't even see who's on. Let's see. Susan, Lee Baker, Roberta. Y'all say hi. Unless you may be at work. I'm at work too, but I'm using my lunch break to get this going so that I can have a good dinner tonight. Oh yeah, starting to get a good sear on this. All right, just to show y'all what's going on here. See that meat in there browning up. I'm thinking, because you can't have a taco like this and not have a margarita. So I'm thinking later on today, obviously when I'm done with work and I'm getting ready to start making some tacos, you will definitely probably see me with margarita in hand, for sure. Okay, short ribs I think can be pulled out now. I'm going to pull out that oxtail too. Okay, so I'm going to pull this off the heat. Whew. Hit some oil down there. So there's some little brown bits down in the bottom here, and that is okay, because that stuff will just kind of cook out. And in my opinion, those little brown bits just add more flavor. So we're not cleaning the pot out or anything. We are simply gonna keep it going. So let me throw this back on the heat here. I'm gonna turn the heat down just a little. And so I'm stewing some onions here. We're gonna let these go. You can see those little brown bits down in there kind of flaking off, which is just fine. And we're gonna let this go until they just start to soften. We don't need them to go like all the way soft or sauteed or caramelized, because like I said, they're gonna be sitting in this for hours, so they will have plenty of time to soften up. But getting a nice little sear on the onions too kind of brings out that flavor, brings out that aroma. Smells really good, honestly. Okay. Next step is we're going to throw in some tomato paste. Just about a tablespoon, maybe a little more than a tablespoon of tomato paste to go in there. Sorry, my tripod just isn't quite big enough to see over this big pot, so I have to keep moving you. So we're going to stir that tomato paste on up in there. Let that just start to break down with those onions. Okay, you got those brown bits going. All right, so I'll point you over here at the pot. Now, remember all that garlic? Now it's time for all that garlic. And we're just going to let this go till it's just aromatic. You just want to start to smell it. Which does not take long. You're talking 30 seconds to a minute at the most. Oh yeah, here it comes. I'm starting to smell it already. I'm keeping it moving because I don't want that paste to necessarily burn to the bottom there. All right. Now, we need some nice, rich beef stock, not beef broth. You want some good beef stock. And this is going to be your main moisture. So we're going to put a lot of it in here. So I'm going to do about 2.5 quarts of beef stock. So there's 1 quart. Here's another quart. And then we'll do our about 1/2 quart. If I end up with a little more, it's not a big deal. That's the nice thing about cooking something like this. You don't really have to be like super precise. All right. Okay, so last thing here, or not last thing, but all of our chilies that we had going here, we're gonna throw those all in, okay? So all those chilies that we de-seeded and de-stemmed, these are gonna rehydrate here in this stock that we're making here. And now, the most important part. Hey, Edna. Hey, Katie. All right, most important part, the meat. So, point you back here, is we're gonna throw this big old hunk of meat right back in here. Kind of move it around. So we got our 3 different kinds of beef going in here. We got our 3 different kinds of chilies going in here. That meat is just gonna stew in there and get to where it's nice and super tender and start to break down. We are gonna turn my heat up just a little because I want to get it so that we can actually get it to a simmer. we can actually, so remember our spice bag, we could actually go ahead and throw this right back in there. So, and yes, I'm on my own. That's why I'm kind of having to talk and think about what I'm doing and move and do all kinds of stuff all at the same time. So I went ahead and threw that spice bag in there. So just so you can see where we're at here. We've got the chilies, the meat, everything's covered in that nice stock. We're gonna get that heated up. And that really is it for this first step. So once this gets heated up all the way, I'm gonna let it simmer. So I'll turn it back down so it'll simmer. I'm gonna cover it and it's gonna sit for at least an hour. And then we'll come back. So it is right now about 12:30 here. So you can anticipate coming back if you want to watch the next part. You can expect to come back at around 1:30 my time. So, and I'm in Central Time. So it'd be around 2:30 if you're in Eastern Time. Okay. So we'll see y'all then.